Hello, everyone, and welcome to Western Conference Wednesday. Today we are discussing Duncan Keith retiring and Johnny Gaudreau heading out of Calgary and many more moves being made in the Western Conference.
You're Locked On NHL, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everyone? As always, it's your Western Conference Wednesday people, Jess Belmosto of Locked On Flames, and I am joined by Brett Holden of Locked On Oilers. How are you, Brett?
Oh, I'm not too bad. A little tired, but that's what we got for Free Agent Frenzy. It's exciting. That's what we're here for.
Exactly. I think that this is one of my favorite days of the year because it's just so much happening at once, and you get to see some really unexpected numbers and players kind of going really unexpected places sometimes.
Oh, yeah, that's why they call it the Frenzy. I mean, over here on the west side, or west coast, I guess. I say west coast, I'm in Alberta, but we like to call ourselves the west coast. It's still early it's always an early type of day. You wake up at 6:30 and you get ready for the day. And I'm normally a person who loves their sleep, honestly. But today is one of those days that's easy to get out of bed because, like you said, there's so much going on.
Yeah. So, do we want to start with Duncan Keith since, he is a former Oiler?
Let's do it. Who just recently announced his retirement.
Yeah, that's he played 17 NHL seasons, 16 of those with the Blackhawks. He played 64 games this season with the Oilers, and he had 21 points. Now, I didn't really follow his career closely, but he won 3 Stanley Cups.
Three Stanley Cups.
That's incredible. Obviously, with Chicago's little dynasty that they had going in 2010, 2013, and 2015. What did he bring to the Oilers while he was there?
As soon as Duncan Keith came to the Edmonton Oilers, it was something that the Oilers haven't had in a long time, and it genuinely something almost as if the Oilers had a guy of a pedigree like Chris Pronger. Now, they don't play the same type of game, and that's not really the thing that Duncan Keith brought to the Edmonton Oilers, but what he did bring was the leadership to the group that everybody needed. He had the experience, a 3-time Stanley Cup winner, a 2-time Norris Trophy winner, 2-time Olympic gold medalist. He is one of the best defensemen of the last generation. To have him sit next to and really help mentor a guy like an Evan Bouchard, a Darnell Nurse, even a Cody Ceci, the way that he was able to nurture and grow those types of players is so much more invaluable than what he did on the ice. Yes, sometimes, maybe, I mean, he was 38 last season. The Oilers had 2 guys in the back end with him and Mike Smith that aren't exactly the spryest of chickens. But again, what he brought not only on the ice, but off the ice was something that the Oilers needed. And that's exactly what, for the Oilers to be successful in the next X amount of years, that the Oilers needed. I mean, Leon Draisaitl was texting Ken Holland saying, we need Duncan Keith. He is difficult to play with, and he's something that we just don't have. And that's what he brought to the Edmonton Oilers.
Yeah, and like you said, it's not always about their on-ice play. It is about what they bring to the team, as the leadership, the experience, and that resume he has of the 3 Stanley Cups, Conn Smythe Trophy winner, and of course the Norris Trophy in 2010 and 2014. And that's something that the Oilers are kind of like a mixed bag team, where it's not incredibly young. They're not all old. They're just kind of, it's a little bit of everything there, but there is definitely valuable lessons for the whole team to learn.
Well, absolutely. The biggest thing for the Edmonton Oilers and for Duncan Keith when he came in was Evan Bouchard. Evan Bouchard is going to be the offensive threat for the Edmonton Oilers for years to come, but there is so much still to be desired in his game that people just didn't understand how to unlock. But Duncan Keith was there to not, I don't want to say hold his hand, these are adults here, but
Yeah.
they helped him develop into a player that he's not yet there, but he understands how to become a true professional in this game and have success in this game. I mean, learning from one of, if not the best defensemen of the last generation probably helps a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. You have players who do need, I don't want to, like you said, you want to say their handheld, but they need that little push to kind of get their, find their footing, whether it be another teammate or a coach or, something like that. And Duncan Keith was able to bring that to the Oilers. And, even if he only played one season there, that is something that I'm sure Bouchard will remember and won't take for granted.
Well, 100%. And you could see it in the playoffs. He got a little nasty sometimes. I mean, it's still Evan Bouchard. He still looks like an old man coming towards you here, but it's still, he's learning a lot. He's young, despite what he looks like. A lot of people call him dad dad, I believe, here in Edmonton. But again, just to close out on Duncan Keith, quite the career. Over his entire career, 1,256 games played for him. So over 1,000 games, over 1,200 games for him in the NHL. 106 goals, 540 assists, and 646 points. Now, to close it out on a nice note, were you able to see any images or anything like that from his retirement?
No, I wasn't.
So he brought up his son Colton. Genuinely, the biggest thing for Duncan Keith and the reason why he left Chicago was because he wanted to be closer to his son. He came to the retirement and brought Colton onto the stage with him, and everything that he did was there with Colton. He thanked him for the inspiration that he's had over the last year specifically, and the nicest part for him was being able to play this last season with Colton in the rink with him, and genuinely such a beautiful I was in tears. I was in tears the whole time.
That is really sweet. And I remember that being a conversation of when was he traded?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. But, that kind of being the narrative of him wanting to be closer to his son. And I don't blame him. We're going to talk more about family and how that plays a big role in your decisions in your career coming up. But that's one of those things that you can't dog on someone for, because at the end of the day, that's what matters most.
100%. 100%. Alrighty, let's shift into, because you did tease it a little bit. Let's shift into the free agent market, as yes, it is free agent day. So who's hitting the market? Let's take a break from the Edmonton Oilers for a second. Who's hitting the market? Yes, Johnny Hockey. And as I believe it was Brian, somebody from Sportsnet, so I'm stealing somebody's joke, but Johnny Hockey's turning into Johnny Cash here. So where will he go? How much will he make? We will get into that in just a second. But first, BetOnline.net is your number one source for all your betting needs and sports information. Find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including next year's Stanley Cup odds for, well, the entire league. But I have a feeling that a couple numbers are going to be changing after some players fall into place today in free agency. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sporting wagering information, including live betting, esports scores, and much more. BetOnline.net remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. Plus, BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite sports and events, including MMA, boxing, and golf. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, where the game starts. Where we are going to continue with our show is, yes, Johnny Gaudreau announced last night, very late last night, as you found out, Jess, that Johnny Gaudreau is not going to immediately, potentially, probably, return to the Calgary Flames after a long tenure of Johnny hockey in Calgary and in Cowtown, unfortunately seemingly coming to an end. So where will he go and why is he leaving, Jess?
Well, we don't know where he's going. The rumors have always been that he wants to go home. For those of you who don't know, home is South Jersey, which is basically, he considers himself a Philadelphia boy. And to be honest, I thought he was from Philly until I did, not recently, but before I started covering the Flames, I was like, this kid just, he's always linked to Philly. He has to be from there. But, he's been linked to the Flyers, the Islanders, the Devils, which makes sense. He's expecting his first child, which is so exciting, with his wife, Meredith. And his parents are obviously a little bit older too. And Guy has had health issues. And I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, he's selfish for not wanting to take $84 million. No, it's not. It's not about the money. And I said it constantly on Locked On Flames. It wasn't going to be about the money. It was going to come down to a family decision. And that's exactly what it came down to. He made the ultimate decision last night after the Flames had kind of been negotiating with his agent, and he didn't know. He truly didn't know until around 6 o'clock last night. And that has got to be hard, number one, for it to weigh on you that long. Number two, to, tell the team that flew a private jet out for your entry-level contract signing, that you weren't staying. And he's not an ego kind of guy. He's not, this isn't, about being one of the top paid players in the league, or getting a statue erected outside the new Saddle Dome, or whatever it'll be. But at the end of the day, it's about family. And just like Duncan Keith wanting to play in Edmonton, I can't sit here and say he's selfish or he made the wrong decision. The baby's going to be around great people wherever they are. And I know it's so this is about hockey, not the baby. But it's no, this is literally about a child. And I can't, wherever he goes, he's going to elevate this lineup. He is setting this next franchise up for success as well. So can't blame him there.
100%. No, I couldn't agree more with everything you said there. I think from the other side, because we did just talk about the Oilers here. I think from the other side, the unfortunate thing, I'm sad as somebody who covers the Oilers and somebody who's grown up an Oilers fan, to see somebody go like Johnny Gaudreau from the Calgary Flames. What he brought to the Calgary Flames was something that, honestly, is the excitement and the skill that this kid brought was something that the Flames have needed for a while now. And it was finally there. It's been just year after year after year, just elite hockey. You don't get nicknamed Johnny Hockey for being a bad hockey player. And he does that despite his size. Everybody would always go to his size, but yet he would still go, oh, okay, just you watch this. Last season, just look at last season. 40 goals, 75 assists, 115 points. One of the highest point getters in all of the NHL.
Yep.
that's an invaluable thing to lose for the Calgary Flames just by the stats itself. But the community guy that Johnny Gaudreau is also, I think, a massive loss for Calgary, the city of Calgary as well, and wherever he does end up landing is a massive plus as well. Again, like you said, whatever lineup he's going to, he is bolstering that lineup. But he's also bolstering that community. Like you said, yes, this is about hockey, but there are other factors. This is a business, right? You got to make a decision over whatever is best, not only for the business, but also personally for you. And you could hear the pain and sadness in Brad Treliving's voice after in the press conference, because like he said, they would move the earth for him.
Yeah. And that's what's so hard about this for me, because like I was recording the show yesterday and I was like, okay, like who's gonna replace him? There is no one on this earth that could come, like that's even on the market. Like obviously a Connor McDavid and like a Wayne Gretzky could obviously replace that, but you can't just be like, okay, like come to the Flames.
Yeah, 115 points, please. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like no matter who they sign or what lineup changes they make, it's not going to be what Johnny did for this team on the ice, off the ice. The city of Calgary loved him. And, I'm on like the East Coast, so I don't see it, but I hear stories from my co-host Audie, who's always like, these people love him. He loves it here. Like, Guy would bring his hockey gear to Calgary and play pickup beer league whenever he would come visit. And, it's things like that just kind of make you say like, okay, he's going to stay here. He really likes it. But again, why make your older father travel on a long plane ride when he can just take a train? Like, or New York, or up to Newark, New Jersey, wherever you may land. So
that's the thing. I'm from Edmonton. Like I mentioned, going to the East Coast is a pain. It is even flying to Toronto is a pain. I sometimes you sit there and you're like, oh, am I actually gonna have to get a connecting flight to Toronto? Like, yeah, like you said, that is again, family is important. You saw even the impact that it had on a guy like Brock Besser, who had a very, very difficult time this season with something personal going on in his life with his father. It's something that weighs on these people, and then when you're living the most painful flight, I guess, in North America between the US and Canada, yes, it makes so much sense.
Yeah, and if anybody is family oriented in this league, it's going to be Gaudreau. And it stinks to see him go, but you root for the player at the end of the day. Like I hope that he has success. I could never wish ill will on him for wanting to like be closer to family. Like I feel like I would feel like such an awful person if I was like, he's so ridiculous. His family can fly out here. He can move them out here. Like no one, no.
Yeah.
But there are still plenty more names on the market, and we have our phones, our Twitter going. I'm fully expecting something to happen while we are recording, because who wouldn't love a good breaking news while recording instead of right after it ends? But instead of breaking your car, let's talk about repairing it with Rock Auto. Rock Auto is an amazing family-owned business that will have you saving money 30, 50, or even 100% more than what you might find at your chain store. I just bought a new car, and I know that when it's time to replace floor mats, headlights, taillights, brake parts, you name it, I will be heading to rockauto.com because their prices are reliably low for every customer, and it doesn't matter if you are a do-it-yourselfer or a seasoned mechanic. They have everything you could need, from brake parts, tail lamps, motor oil, and even new carpet, which I love because I tend to spill things. Do a lot of driving. I traded in my car yesterday, and I was like, oh, that's definitely a coffee stain on the floor. Great. So Rock Auto will be coming through for me, and they will be coming through for you as well when you head on over to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck, and write Locked On in their How Did You Hear About Us box so they know that we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com. I woke up in the middle of the night last night, like normal, and I just see something retweeted. I'm back. But I didn't see who it was from. So I'm thinking like someone's coming out of like retirement, someone's going to be coaching. It's Evander Kane. Okay. Is he back? Is he going back to California? Is he going to Buffalo? I don't know why I go there. But where is he going? Where is he back? He's back with the Oilers. Brett, how do you feel about this? The term, the figures, the implications?
Yeah, well, yeah, that's a word for sure. Well, and yeah, the implications is kind of the biggest thing right now. I'm trying to pull up here what exactly, because he does still have that hearing with the arbitrator. So yes, he did just finish this signing with the Edmonton Oilers last night, like you said, very late in the evening. Like you said, you woke up late during your sleep. I was getting ready for sleep, and I'm going, really, Kenny? You couldn't just let me get a couple of hours of sleep? You got to throw this on to us. But yes, he did re-sign with the Edmonton Oilers, a 4-year, $20.5 million for him. But yes, he does still have that arbitration with this San Jose Sharks as well. If Evander Kane, if I remember this, or if I believe it was Darren Dreger who reported this, but if Evander Kane wins the arbitration, he now goes back to or becomes property of the San Jose Sharks. I'm pretty sure that is the implication. So then the Oilers would have to trade for his pick or trade for his rights. Yeah, if the arbitrator sides with San Jose or with Evander Kane, I forget which way it is, but if he does end up becoming a San Jose Shark again by contract, the Edmonton Oilers would have to trade for his rights again, and that contract apparently becomes basically null and void. And then the Oilers have to trade for it, which becomes weird. But the Edmonton Oilers and Evander Kane do not make that deal. Well, more specifically, Ken Holland does not make that deal with some sort of foresight going into it. So speculation around speculation may not necessarily be fair. But again, the implication, there is always something swirling around Evander Kane. And that's obvious because we haven't even gotten to his on-ice stuff yet. We've already started this conversation with the stuff that could happen off the ice. But let's get onto the ice here. Let's be real. Evander Kane is probably the best or well-suited person to sit next to Connor McDavid on that first line. He is somebody that the Edmonton Oilers haven't had on a first line since the Oilers brought in Connor McDavid in 2015. A guy who can actually have some skill. I mean, the kid scored. He played 58 games for the Edmonton Oilers last year, I believe.
22 goals.
Unbelievable. He led the playoffs last year, finished tied with the lead for playoff goals, and still didn't even play. He didn't even play game 4 of that Oilers Colorado Avalanche series. He has that, and the reason why he didn't play in that last game was because he was suspended for a hit. Now, I'm obviously not condoning what he did, but he brings that physical edge. Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl in those playoffs, and Leon Draisaitl did those playoffs, basically the entire playoffs, on one foot. but they were able to go out there and not be worried about, oh, their biggest guy is going to hit me, because their biggest guy is then worried about, oh my goodness, if I hit Connor or Leon, then Evander Kane, who's a southpaw and one of, weirdly, quietly, the better fighters, I should say. He's not one of the best, but he's one of the top fighters there when he has to drop the gloves. I don't want to get dropped with a left hand because I hit number 97. And the whole time with the Edmonton Oilers, not one fight for Evander Kane, but he still has that presence.
He definitely does, and I will give him that. There's not too much I will give him leeway for, but I do give him credit for that. I was just reading an article on ESPN to figure out the contract stuff. But it said Kane's grievance with the Sharks complicated his free agent status, as ruling in his favor could theoretically reinstate his contract with San Jose. Now, I didn't know that until you mentioned it, because I completely forgot that his contract was kind of null and void for a little bit there. But I am very interested to see how this goes. His deal was worth $20-something million, but he's also like $27 million in debt, allegedly. How does someone... again, this is a question for lawyers and people who are good with finance. So if that's you in the comments, please let us know, because I'm genuinely so interested, because he has full custody of his daughter apparently right now as well. So you can't just take all of that money, because he needs to eat and provide for himself and his family. But what does that look like? And again, that's more of a big brain question.
Locked on finances.
Yeah, exactly. So if you are one of those people, find us on Twitter or find us
please
anywhere and let us know. But what do you think this means for the Oilers? Did they just get better?
Substantially. Well, and the thing is now that there are rumors swirling around about an hour after that late night bomb from Evander Kane, Kevin Weeks also sent out a tweet saying that, well, it seems like, hey, no tampering, please, no tampering. But it seems like Jack Campbell is also on his way to the Edmonton Oilers, which shores up that goaltending spot for the Oilers. So now you bring back a guy that the Edmonton Oilers had a lot of success with on that first line. You shore up that goaltending. Now you just have to fill in the blanks here. The Edmonton Oilers might have just solidified themselves as one of, if not the best teams, not only in Canada, which is a big thing up here in Canada, especially between Oilers fans and Leafs fans, but also potentially probably one of the best teams, if not the best team in the Pacific.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was thinking about this last night, and I was like, the Flames, no matter who they add to this roster, got worse. Like, that's simple as that. But with the Oilers finally, potentially, allegedly, signing a young goaltender, and a goaltender who can carry his weight and that has proved himself, you more than likely, unless Vegas finds their footing again, the probably top contender in the Pacific, and I would even say the Western Conference. And I think I just threw up in my mouth from saying that. But that's okay, because here on Western Conference Wednesday, we show everyone love.
Exactly. There's no borders here. There's no Highway 16 here to Calgary or whatever it is. I think that's wrong. I think that goes east. But yeah, like you said, that's right. East and south are much different. But hey, but like you said, you threw up in your mouth a little bit, but that warms my heart, because genuinely, a lot of Oilers fans, we dubbed those 10 years where 5 of them we got a first overall pick the decade of darkness. It had a name. It was bad here. And now the Edmonton Oilers are able to make moves like this, and you can sit there and go, oh, are the Oilers up at the top again? And yeah. Now the Edmonton Oilers currently sit at with cap friendly. They're sitting with about $9.6 million in cap space, so they still got a little bit finagling to do with that roster. Ryan McLeod and RFA that needs to be brought in. Kyler Yamamoto. So those are 2 contracts there. Yes, Puljujärvi maybe if Puljujärvi isn't already on his way out. There's been rumors that potentially he could be a piece in a potential Connor Brown trade, who's friends with Connor McDavid. Is Dylan Strome a guy the Edmonton Oilers take a look at? They still, the needs for the Edmonton Oilers, the Oilers still have needs. Brett Kulak isn't locked up for the Edmonton Oilers, so they need a second pairing defenseman. Apparently, the Edmonton Oilers may be looking at a veteran 7th defenseman to bring in, because the Oilers do like running that 11-7 bottom 6 guys, a couple of bottom 6 guys, especially toughness and people
Can
who
I
can
interest
kill
you in a
penalties.
Brett Ritchie?
Yeah, well, hey, why not? Yeah. Well, honestly, and somebody, if you want to mention Calgary Flames, personally, I would love a Nikita Zadorov.
He's hitting the market. You can take him.
I wouldn't mind him. I wouldn't mind. He was very difficult to play against in the playoffs. He's a big physical body. He does have. Yeah, big dude. He's got some skating as well. Like he has a little bit of everything that he can bring to the table. The Edmonton Oilers were rumored to be picking on him as well last summer with it was the which move was it? Yes, Chicago, and it was the Ethan Bear.
Yes.
There were rumors that it could have been Ethan Bear for Nikita Zadorov. So the Edmonton Oilers might be kicking around on him as well.
So we are about an hour and a half, little less from the official noon deadline with free agency, and we can only imagine what's going to happen and where players like Nazem Kadri, Johnny Gaudreau, and really those are just like the two biggest names that I can think of right now that are probably going to make a splash.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Evander Kane would have been in there, and he's out of there. Evgeny Malkin rumored to be coming to a West Coast team or Western Conference team potentially as well. He's off the market, so it's things for Johnny Gaudreau and, like you mentioned, Nazem Kadri, who a lot of teams have cap space for. There's a lot of potential movement to be made today.
And if you are interested and available, we will be doing some Locked On NHL live hangouts with free agency, and it's going to be an absolute blast. So make sure that you are subscribed to Locked On NHL on YouTube. And Brett, where can people find you for the latest Oilers moves in news?
Yes, on the show specifically, I'm going to keep the show Twitter updated at Locked On Oilers. Yes, just Locked On Oilers. I know a lot of people have the LOPN or whatever. I got lucky. It's just Locked On Oilers. So make sure you tune into there. And you can also follow me on Twitter at TheRealHolden40. But you don't care about me. You care about those Oilers. So make sure you tune into Locked On Oilers.
Yes, and you can find the latest Flames news at LO_Flames. And of course, if you want to follow me on Twitter for some wild reactions and takes, just Monster. All those tweets are impulsive and just whatever comes to my head first. So there's no
what Twitter is.
There's no true analysis. Like 5 minutes later, when I'm like, okay, all right, breathe. It's okay. So, which is why I could never be an insider, because I run my mouth too much. But thank you everyone for hanging out, and we will see you next Wednesday for some more Western Conference Wednesday.